The 1970s produced some of the most iconic muscle cars in history, but not every design was a winner. Some were awkward, some were uninspired, and others were just plain ugly. Today, we're counting down the 13 ugliest American cars of the 1970s that nobody wanted back. These cars had styling choices that made people scratch their heads, and most of them faded into obscurity. Let's take a look back at these design missteps. Some designs just didn't age well. These are the 13 ugliest American cars of the 1970s. Before we get started, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Legends of the Road, and turn on notifications. Which car do you think deserves the top spot? Let us know in the comments. Now, let's get into the list. Starting off the list is the 1975 AMC Matador Coupe. AMC wanted a bold, futuristic design, but the result was a bulky, awkward-looking car. Its oversized front end and sloped rear made it look unbalanced. Buyers didn't love it, and despite AMC's hope, it never gained a strong following. Today, you'll find very few collectors interested in the Matador Coupe. The Ford Thunderbird was once a sleek luxury car, but by 1970, it had lost its way. The Landau edition featured a massive bloated body with fake Landau bars on the roof, a design choice that felt outdated even at the time. The squared-off front end looked uninspired, and the car's hefty frame made performance sluggish. While early Thunderbirds are collector favorites, this generation is mostly forgotten. Dodge introduced the Magnum as a personal luxury coupe, but the design didn't do it any favors. The hidden headlights were meant to be sleek, but instead looked unfinished. The bulky proportions and stretched hood made the car appear awkward rather than aggressive. It wasn't as stylish as the Charger or as luxurious as Chrysler's high-end models, leaving it stuck in an identity crisis. Few remain on the road today. The Mustang II is infamous among Mustang fans. Ford downsized the Mustang in response to the fuel crisis, but in the process, they stripped it of its muscle car heritage. The Mustang II's design was bland, with none of the aggressive styling of its predecessors. It was more economy car than performance icon, and enthusiasts never embraced it. While some versions are collectible today, most car fans consider it the weakest generation. Chevrolet's Vega was meant to be a practical compact, but the styling didn't help. The proportions were off, with a too long hood and a boxy rear end that made it look unfinished. The grille design didn't flow well with the body, and the cheap materials made it feel low quality. Add its reliability issues, and it's easy to see why the Vega never became a classic. Cadillac attempted to enter the luxury compact market with the Seville, but the design felt uninspired. The tall, narrow body looked awkward next to other Cadillacs of the time, and the overall styling lacked the elegance expected from the brand. It wasn't a bad car, but it was far from a design success. Today it has a small group of collectors, but most enthusiasts pass on this model. The Bricklin SV1 was a Canadian-built sports car with gull-wing doors and a fiberglass body. While that sounds cool, the execution wasn't. The SV1 had awkward proportions, a huge front bumper, and a design that made it look like a kid car. Despite being marketed as a sports car, it was slow and unreliable. While rare, it's not a highly desirable collector car. The Monte Carlo was Chevrolet's attempt at a personal luxury coupe, but the first generation had a bland design. The front end looked stretched, and the styling lacked the personality of other Chevy models. It improved in later years, but the early 70s Monte Carlo is one of the more forgettable designs from Chevrolet's lineup. The AMC Gremlin was built to be a cheap, compact alternative to bigger cars, but the design made it an easy target for criticism. The chopped-off rear end looked unfinished, and the proportions made it resemble a toy car rather than a serious vehicle. It was popular for its affordability, but few people look back on its design fondly. The Dodge Aspen was supposed to be a practical mid-size car, but its design made it stand out for all the wrong reasons. The boxy shape and oversized bumpers made it look outdated from the start. The proportions felt off, and the overall styling was uninspired. The Aspen also had major quality control issues, which didn't help its reputation. While some versions, like the RT, had a performance edge, most models were forgettable at best. Today, the Aspen isn't a car you see at classic car shows or on collectors' lists. Plymouth's attempt at a small, fuel-efficient import was the Cricket, a rebadged British Hillman Avenger. The problem? It didn't fit the American market. The tiny generic design lacked personality, and the overall look felt cheap. The grille and headlight arrangements seemed thrown together, making the car look unfinished. Worse yet, the Cricket was plagued with reliability issues, and owners quickly abandoned them. You won't find many left on the road today, and there's a reason nobody's searching for one to restore. The Ford Fairmont was built for practicality, but that came at the expense of style. The squared-off body and lack of detail made it look like a fleet car rather than something you'd want to own. It wasn't ugly in a dramatic way, it was just boring. The long hood and short trunk didn't flow well together, and the grille looked like an afterthought. The Fairmont was popular because it was cheap and efficient, but it had no visual appeal. Even today, it's hard to find anyone who remembers this car fondly. Topping our list is the infamous Ford Pinto. Not only was it one of the ugliest American cars in the 1970s, but it became known for one of the worst design flaws in automotive history. The Pinto's stubby shape and awkward proportions made it look odd from the start. The front grille seemed too small for the body, and the overall design lacked character. But the biggest issue wasn't just how it looked, it was how it was built. The Pinto had a dangerous flaw where the fuel tank could explode in rear-end collisions. This cemented its place in automotive infamy. While some collectors seek out Pintos for their historical significance, it's not a car most people want to own. That wraps up our list of the 13 ugliest cars in the 1970s. Some of these cars had decent performance or practicality, but their designs left a lot to be desired. While a few have become collectible over time, most have faded into history and few enthusiasts are looking to bring them back. Which car on this list do you think was the worst? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Legends of the Road, and hit the bell icon for more classic car breakdowns. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.